Good morning and welcome to Market Cafe with me, Ankur, Mishra and Kanishka Sarkar. In next 1 hour, we'll bring you all the details that matters to you before opening of market. But today is also MPC outcome day, so we'll give you all the updates as well as decode the monetary policy for you. But let's get started with an eye on the globe because there's a lot of action which happened in US yesterday night. Kanishka, good morning. Why did US fell?
Absolutely, Ankur. First of all, a very good morning to you. Despite the fall that we saw yesterday, let us, see that all the three major averages, they are expected to end on a high note, though the gains are not very significant if you look at it on a week-to-date basis. Now, speaking about yesterday's session, overnight the S&P 500 fell about 0.5%. The Nasdaq Composite, that slid about 0.8%. Now, these indexes were weighed down by Tesla, which tumbled 14% as the CEO Elon Musk sparred with US President Donald Trump on social media. The Dow, which does not include Tesla, was off by 108 points or less than 0.3%. Now, earnings report could also be a theme on Friday with names like Broadcom expected to report their results today. Apart from that, non-farms payrolls data that is due to later in the day is something that we'll be watching out for. Now, all the three averages, as I mentioned earlier, they are in for a second week of gains as of now. The S&P 500 and Dow, they are up about 0.5% and 0.1% respectively on a week-to-date basis, whereas the Nasdaq Composite, that is up nearly 1% this week.
All right, if you look at the crude front, not much action there because it is steadying around $65 if you talk about the Brent crude, and similarly WTI is hovering around $63. Why it is happening? Because in the turn of events which has happened on the trade truce front, oil is steady as those levels, but remember these levels are still 12 to 14% lower at the high of the calendar year, but still with the expectation of output hike which can happen in July, the crude is hovering around $63 if you talk about WTI.
That's right. Let's also get tracking the big headlines of the hour, the global headlines that we are tracking this morning. In a dramatic public meltdown, the Trump and Musk alliance is officially imploded. The US President and Tesla CEO traded blistering insults on their platform last evening, with Trump threatening to axe Musk's government contracts and also Musk firing back, claiming that Trump wouldn't have won the election without his backing. Now, the fallout followed a spat over the big, beautiful tax cut bill, as Musk calls it, and quickly spiraled from digs about Musk's black eye to Trump yanking support for Musk's NASA pick. Now, Musk even alluded to Trump's name in Epstein-linked documents and backed impeachment calls. Now, just weeks ago, he was the top advisor and Oval Office regular, but today, Musk is hinting at launching a centrist political party. Meanwhile, Tesla shares slid and SpaceX rivals also soared. Tesla lost more than $150 billion in market cap in a single session yesterday. In fact, Steve Bannon, on the other hand, is pushing Trump to sever all ties and investigate the billionaire. The much talked about bromance seems to be over now, but the battle may have just begun.
Definitely friends turning foes, but it was surely a busy evening for Donald Trump with tweets and phone calls as Trump and Xi Jinping agree to restart stalled trade talks following a 90 minutes call focused largely on tariffs and rare earth minerals. Trump hailed the discussion as very good, with US trade officials set to meet their Chinese counterparts soon. The talks come amid a tense trade war and fresh US export curbs on Chinese chips. Beijing pushback on student visa restrictions and semiconductor warnings has only deepened the rift. Still, Trump says the call ended positively and Xi invited him to Melania to visit China, an offer he has accepted already. Let's listen in.
We had a very good talk, and we've straightened out any complexity. It's very complex stuff, and we straightened it out. The agreement was we're going to have Scott and Howard and Jameson will be going and meeting with their top people, and continued forward. But no, I think we have everything. I think we're in very good shape with China and the trade deal. We have a deal with China, as you know, but we were straightening out some of the points, having to do mostly with rare earth, magnets, and some other things.
So those reduced trade tariff rates, they remain in effect?
Yeah, we have the deal. I mean, we've had a deal. We announced the deal, and we'll be, I guess you could say, I wouldn't even say finalizing it up, Scott. I would say we have a deal, and we're going to just make sure that everybody understands what the deal is. Okay? We had a really good conversation. By the way, he invited me to China, and I invited him here. We both accepted. So I'll be going there with the First Lady at a certain point, and he'll be coming here, hopefully, with the First Lady of China.
All right, that's the word coming in from Donald Trump on his talks with his Chinese counterpart. But, we also caught up with a whole host of experts to decode what this latest development mean. Let's listen in.
The first thing is that President Trump has acknowledged that President Xi Jinping is a difficult customer to deal with. He should have known that. President Xi Jinping didn't come to power yesterday. He's been there even in the first term of President Trump. And already from 145%, the tariffs have come down to 30% for the US. And for China, they have reduced it also by 115% to, I think, 10%. So that is one thing. The second point is that just by this one gesture of banning the exports of rare earth magnets, the whole auto industry in the US, of course, Ford and General Motors are there, Tesla is also there, but there are a large number of other country manufacturers like Hyundai, like Toyota, etc. Now, all their production lines are likely to come to a grinding halt in a few weeks' time, if not days. And that is something which, and it will throw a large number of workers out of employment. So I'm sure President Trump would have raised this issue with the Chinese.
What Trump wants to impose is very, very high. And if the Chinese are going to play tough, I do not see a quick resolution in sight. They will keep talking, but Trump, I'm afraid his reputation for being tough has also gone down. You may have heard the latest thing called taco, or Trump always chickens out. And he has done this repeatedly on various things. So he has given every incentive to the Chinese to play tough and not come to an early, quick agreement. The current agreement, which is a temporary one, if that continues for the longest time, I do not think the Chinese will worry about it.
As the Trump administration doubles down on hardline immigration stance, fresh tensions erupt on the another front. President Donald Trump has sparked fresh controversy by banning visas for new international students enrolling at Harvard University. The move comes after Harvard reportedly refused to provide federal officials with certain student records. In response, the White House is also threatening to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status and freeze over $2.2 billion in federal funding. Harvard has condemned the action as retaliatory, pledging to defend its global student body. This sharp escalation raises serious questions about academic freedom and U.S. higher education global standing. We also spoke to Gurucharan Das, author and commentator, and former CEO P&G India on this issue. Let's listen in.
He's using a very clever device, which is the question of security. Now, that will depend on, that these people who come to Harvard are a security threat. Now, how do you prove that? I mean, this is where a judge will have to, since it will go to court, like the others have gone to, the other cases have gone to court, that Harvard, the case to show what they'll present, Harvard will have to present credentials, I suppose, at the court of the students, that they are not a threat to the security of America.
All right, then moving on, let's still keep it with what's been happening in the US. Now, with inflation risks that are back in focus, key Fed policymakers are signaling a pause on rate cuts. Now, Fed Governor Adriana Kugler and Kansas City Fed's Jeff Schmidt, they've flagged tariffs and sticky prices as top concerns, outweighing modest job market cooling. Now, Fed meets on from June 17th to 18th, with the expectations firming that the rates will stay unchanged. A solid May jobs report and next week's CPI data could cement the case. Though inflation recently hovered near the Fed's 2% target, officials say that worst may not be over yet, especially as tariff-driven price hikes ripple through the economy.
Moving on, the Trump administration has imposed sanctions on 4 international criminal court judges in an unprecedented response to the ICC's arrest warrant for Israel's PM Netanyahu and its past probe into US troops' actions in Afghanistan. Judges from Uganda, Peru, Benin and Slovenia are accused by Washington of targeting America and its allies with illegitimate prosecutions. The ICC blasted the move, calling it a direct attack on judicial independence and global justice. The sanctions freeze assets and complicate financial transactions, further escalating tensions between US and international court.
Moving on, now US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is calling for a sharper edge in America's economic playbook. Now, he's urging more funding for the Export Control Agency and pushing for more enforcement agents to police sensitive tech transfers. On chips, he says that US is aiming to train 5 million workers and ramp up to 5 million wafers annually during Trump's term. Now, he's criticized slow progress on domestic chip plants and vowed to build an advanced facility within 18 months. He's also hinted at tougher trade stances, warning the EU to ease pressure on tech firms if it wants a digital markets deal. On Mexico, he's called for a rethink, arguing it's illogical to build US cars over there, while urging more collaboration in mining and refining.
All right, moving on, the European Central Bank has gone ahead and, as anticipated, cut its key interest rates by 25 basis points for the 8th time in a year. The deposit facility rate now stands at 2%, the main refinancing rate is at 2.15%, and marginal lending facility rate is now at 2.4%. Meanwhile, Eurozone inflation slipped below the target for the first time since September, but Central Bank lowered headline inflation expectations, citing a stronger euro and lower energy cost. Once again, ECB said that it is not pre-committing to any particular rate path. Let's listen into what Christine Lagarde, ECB president, had to say.
Higher tariffs and a stronger euro are expected to make it harder for firms to export. High uncertainty is expected to weigh on investment, but at the same time, several factors are keeping the economy resilient and should support growth over the medium term.
All right, then moving on, another thing that's been making big headlines is the layoffs that we are seeing across sectors. Now, Citigroup is set to slash 3,500 tech jobs in China by Q4, which is as part of its global cost-cutting drives. Now, most of these roles based in Shanghai and Dalian belong to Citi's IT services unit, which supports software development and operations for global businesses. Some jobs will shift to other tech hubs, though Citi hasn't named exactly where. Now, the move is part of a broader plan to trim 20,000 jobs worldwide, with recent cuts already hitting offices in the US, Southeast Asia and Europe. Now, Citi says it remains committed to serving corporate clients in China.
All right, moving on, Apple is doubling down on Mumbai. Tech giant Apple has leased its second retail store in the city, this time in the Sky Mall, Borivali. Sameer is joining in with more details.
In a move to expand footprints in India, the tech giant Apple has leased another property in Mumbai's suburb area. As per the lease agreement that has been assessed by the real estate data analytics firm CRE Metrics. It mentions that Apple has leased a property of 12,616 square feet in Mumbai's Borivali area, the mall, Sky Mall, which is of Oberoi Realty. At the ground floor, this property has been leased, and the lease agreement that has been signed, it is for roughly around 11 years. And this 12,616 square feet property has been leased at an annual rent rate of around rupees 2 crore. For each month, 17.35 lakh is the rent that will be paid by Apple to the lessor. In addition to this, there will be an increment in the rent which will be done in every 3 years by the rate of 15%. In addition to this, Apple will also be sharing a 2% of revenue in the initial 42 months, and thereafter from the 43rd month onwards, a 2.5% of the revenue will be shared with the lessor. So these are some of the fine details, but if you see the larger picture, this is the fourth such property. Apple has already opened its store in BKC, Bandra Kurla complex in Mumbai, as well as in Delhi, has also leased a property in Bangalore, and this is the fourth property that has been leased by Apple. And now the company is looking to expand its footprints in other cities as well.
All right, those are the latest details we have on Apple's new store that is going to come up in Mumbai. But let's shift focus to precious metals then. Now, even as global uncertainties remain, demand for industrial precious metals is on the rise. The likes of silver and platinum are cashing in on rising appetite for materials used in converters and lab equipments as well. Ashesha is here with all the details. Ashesha, good morning.
Well, yes, we've spoken about gold over the last several months, but today let's put the spotlight on silver and and platinum, because these two precious metals are also trading at multi-year high levels. And first up, let's talk about silver, because it is trading at the highest level that we have seen since 2013 in the global market. So it crossed that $36 per ounce mark, which is the highest level since February 2012. And remember, this week so far, it is up nearly 8.5%. So that's the kind of move that we have seen in the precious metal market. Now, not only the global market, in the domestic market as well. So on MCX, silver crossed that 1,04,000 rupee per kg mark yesterday. This is the all-time high for silver in the domestic market. And remember, the previous all-time high for silver on MCX was about 1,03,500 rupees per kg. So yes, silver has not only moved in the global market, but in the domestic market as well. We have seen a solid run-up over the last few sessions. Now let's talk about platinum. This too is trading at the highest level that we have seen since 2022. It is up 8% this week so far, at trading at about $1,146 per ounce, and over the last 1 year it is up nearly 13%. And as you mentioned, industrial uses for silver and platinum are aiding the move, but apart from that, weak dollar, rising geopolitical tensions, increasing demand from China, which has resurfaced yet again. So these are some of the factors which are aiding demand for precious metals in the global market. But as you mentioned, industrial uses, that is also one of the key factors for silver and platinum, because remember, silver is a key ingredient in solar panels and platinum is used in converters and laboratory equipments. And also remember, silver and platinum are expected to be in deficit this year after surplus that they have been reporting for the last several years. So yes, it's not just about gold within the precious metals basket. Silver and platinum are also trading at multi-year highs.
Moving on, in another important story on rare earth metals, whereby the Beijing has tightened its grip on rare earth magnets, which are vital components in the everything from smartphones to fighter jets. But more importantly, these magnets are indispensable to electric vehicles, and China controls 90% of global production. Indian automakers are bracing for supply disruptions, while global majors like Ford and BMW are already feeling the pinch. Srishti is joining in to tell us if this will throw a spanner in the EV revolution. Srishti, over to you.
Well, yes, there's a new problem brewing in the car makers, and it starts with something that you can't even see. It's inside your EV motors, your wiper, even your headlight. And we are talking about the rare earth magnets. Small in size, but huge in importance. And it majorly started in April, wherein China made a major move, wherein companies must now get a special government permission to export the magnets made from rare earth minerals like dysprosium and terbium, to name a few. Now, these magnets power everything from smartphones to fighter jets. And here's the catch, because China controls 70% of the rare earth mining and 90% of the world's magnet production. Now, countries like India will need documents providing how these magnets will be used and that they are not for military purposes. These are the new disclosures that Indian companies have to come out with. But now you may ask that why does it even matter and how big an impact it can have on the Indian auto majors? Because electric vehicles specifically, they need a lot of these magnets, almost 3 kgs per car compared to just 100 grams in a normal petrol car, because these magnets actually help the EV motor to run fast and smooth as well. And without them, EVs can't even move. So yes, it is a concern and an involving situation indeed. But companies are now being vocal about it, and in the Indian markets as well, we have so many Indian companies now coming and talking about that. Case in point being Bajaj Auto, where they say that they can see a delay in the production post the July, and they are hoping for the situation to improve. But for now, yes, this is a developing situation. We have the comments from TVS Motors as well, where they are anticipating a short to medium term challenges because of this disruption. Other than that, we have comments coming in from Mahindra, where they are saying that for now they are covered for 2 months. And then we have Tata Motors and Maruti Suzuki. They are maintaining the stance that they do not foresee any immediate impact on the production numbers. But it's not just about the Indian auto majors. It's even the global companies like Ford and BMW. They even actually have to go ahead and halt their production. We have the comments from Suzuki. They even said that one of their models can get a hit because of this EV magnet shortage. So indeed, this is a big concern that is indeed brewing in the Indian auto major and impacting the auto industry as a whole. So while EVs are the future, a small magnet is holding the wheel. With China tightening control, automakers around the world are now racing to secure the supply lines or the risk hitting the brakes. Back to you.
Thank you, Srishti, for getting us all those details and explaining that as well. Now, remember, China's ban on export of rare earth materials, as Srishti pointed out, is hitting various industries, including auto and also electric components hard. Now, the industry representatives have now reached out to the government seeking some clarity on the way forward. Sumita is here to tell us all about it.
In fact, we're given to understand from sources that industry representatives met with the Ministry of Heavy Industries in the last week of May. Remember, this is a concern. This is a matter that concerns not just India, but globally as well. The impacts are being felt. And of course, Srishti was mentioning just that and underlining the impact that is being felt currently. So the auto industry has raised concerns about delays, accessing such rare earths like magnets from China. In fact, the overall impact we're given to understand is also being seen in aerospace and defense sectors, smartphones, electronics and manufacturing related to automotive companies as well. That is being understood, that is being seen as well, is what we're given to understand from sources. Sources also suggest that at the moment, the External Affairs Ministry, the Heavy Industries Ministry, these are examining the matter. The industry is also looking at sending representatives to China to meet with their Commerce Ministry to sort of arrive at some sort of a solution. Now, from China's side, they say that this is a procedural hurdle because we have spoken to sources in the Chinese embassy as well. In fact, so travel approvals for the Indian delegation, if they were supposed to travel this week, they have been pending with the embassy, with the Chinese government. Now India is seeking at ways to speed that approval process so that steady availability of critical imports for local businesses could be ensured. So you can expect in the coming few days, a delegation will be traveling to Beijing to meet Chinese Commerce Ministry officials.
Thanks, Sumita, for all those details. But on the sidelines of SIAM conference, Sameer Dikshit caught up with Vikram Gulati of Toyota Kirloskar Motor, who lauded the new EV policy and also claimed in on the impact of China's chokehold of rare earth magnets. Let's listen in about this conversation.
Well, India has been a very resilient country. I think our automotive sector is also very resilient. It is a matter of fact that if you look at the global capacity for rare earth magnets or the rare earth processing, the primary 90% for magnets and around 85% for the raw material lies with the one particular country. That's a fact. And therefore, if there are some certain conditions put up, it applies to everybody world over, and that to India as well. It is also a fact that rare earth as well as magnets from rare earth are now finding a lot of applications across various industry sectors, including the automotive. The use is definitely going up with electrification because the electric vehicle does need a significant amount of rare earth magnets for the motors, etc. Although there is also application for other technologies, including ICE. I think for us, the key takeaway as a nation is what Government of India and the Honorable Prime Minister has been focusing on, which is the need to become self-reliant. And also the fact that the government has been talking about multiple technologies being applied in our quest for self-reliance towards energy and sustainable mobility, because there are other technologies which can very impactfully today play that role of lowering fossil fuel consumption, carbon emissions and pollution.
All right, that's the latest industry view coming in on rare earth metals, but rare earth magnets. But moving on, before slipping into a very short break, let's also bring in Srinjoy Chaudhary, who's here to break down for us the mega blowout between Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
First of all, it was widely expected that Donald Trump and Elon Musk would not, this bromance between them would not last more than a year. But, of course, everyone is surprised that it has ended as quickly as it has. This meltdown has taken only just a little more than 100 days. Let's not forget that even 2 months ago, Elon Musk appeared to be the second most powerful person in the United States government after his president. And today, they are throwing barbs at each other. Apart from this he said, she said kind of situation, let us just for a moment wonder what could happen as a result of this. First of all, this budget that Elon Musk is strongly opposed to has barely been cleared by the US House of Representatives. I think by 215 to 214. Then it has to go to the Senate. And this is the country's budget. Now the Republicans barely control the Senate, 53-47. And there are a number of Republican senators like Susan Collins and so on, who are not great Trump supporters. Now, if there are even 4 people who have links with Elon Musk, who have been supported by Elon Musk in their election campaigns, financially that is, then there is trouble ahead for Donald Trump. In any case, this is one of those biggest fights you can imagine. The richest man in the world fighting the most powerful, one of the most powerful men in the world. This is Musk versus Trump. Now, how this ends, we do not know. With Trump and Musk, you can never tell. You can never tell because tomorrow they could well be friends again. So that has to be kept in mind. But at this point, what is really up in the air is the American budget. Can you imagine? This is a country of 30 trillion in terms of GDP, and its budget is now in trouble because the Senate may not clear it, or senators may have problems with it because Elon Musk and Donald Trump have fallen out.
All right, thanks so much for all those details. So friends turning foes in US and US and China starting a new bromance. How will it impact Asian markets? We'll find out after the break. Welcome back after the break. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Ankur Mishra and Kanishka Sarkar. Let's pay attention to Asia Pacific market, how they are performing after a call which has happened between Xi Jinping and also Donald Trump. Both the sides were very enthusiastic about the call. In fact, you can see that not much impact on Shanghai as well as Hong Kong markets after that news flow, because muted to tepid start happening in both the markets. But you should also bring on the screen Nikkei, whereby you can see the only market which is up in green if you talk about Asia. Weak data coming in Japan, where the household spending has actually fell and more than anticipation, and now it is fueling to the talks whether or not on 17th of June when Bank of Japan meets, there will be a pause or thinking about rationalization. So there you can see Nikkei is up around 0.5%, but if you talk about other Asia Pacific market, a muted start coming in from there, and even Nifty implied open is indicating 15 points downside as we speak. So mixed cues coming in from Asia, and we expect start in the red in the opening. All right, let's move on. In a big boost to the defense manufacturing in India, Dassault Aviation and Tata Advanced Systems have signed a deal to manufacture the main body of Rafale fighter aircraft in India. This is the first time that fighter craft's fuselage will be produced outside France. Sumita Karir is joining in with more details.
This is the first ever Rafale fuselage production that's going to be happening in India. We're given to understand from the official communication that we've received from Dassault Aviation and Tata Advanced Systems Limited that they've signed agreements to manufacture these fuselages in India. There's going to be a dedicated facility that will come up in Hyderabad. These components will include lateral shells, rear fuselage, center fuselage, and the front sections will be manufactured here in India. Now, talking about the rollout, well, the first fuselage sections will roll off the line in FY28. So there's still some time before the actual rollout of these fuselages happens, but definitely a significant development so far as, the manufacturing in India, the defense manufacturing in India story is concerned. Like I said, this is going to be the first time that Rafale fuselages will be produced outside of France. So this really signifies the growing partnership between France and India as well. This plant is expected to deliver up to 2 complete fuselages per month. In fact, let me also read out from the statement that has been released. The CEO of Dassault Aviation says that this is a decisive step in strengthening our supply chain in India, thanks to the expansion of our local partners, including PASL, one of the major players in the Indian aerospace industry. This supply chain will contribute to the successful ramp-up of the Rafale. This is very important to note that this supply chain is coming up in India, but this is going to help in the manufacturing ramp-up of a Rafale. And he says, with our support, we will meet our quality and competitiveness requirements. So definitely a very crucial development, a shot in the arm for not just India-France relations, but definitely defense manufacturing in the country as well.
All right, a big boost coming in for the Indian defense sector. But there's another headline that we're tracking this morning, which is making headlines across the globe, actually. Layoffs, they're rising across companies in the world that are responding to economic uncertainty. You know, it looks like a rerun of 2022 when anything but layoffs were making headlines every day, except at that time they were majorly tech-focused. Now, this time jobs are being cut across industries and regions. Now, over 76,000 jobs have already been cut this year, as per reports, and this is an average of 506 job cuts every day. In fact, the World Economic Forum has warned that globally, 41% of companies plan to reduce headcount in the next 5 years due to AI adoption. Big names are driving this trend. Microsoft has cut about 6,000 roles, Citi 3,500, Volkswagen plans to eliminate 35,000 jobs by 2030, while P&G, Amazon, Nissan and HSBC, they've all announced layoffs across regions. In the US, layoffs hit a 9-month high as per a UBS report, with jobless claims rising to 1.9 million. That's the highest since 2021. Now, the quit rate, which is a measure of worker confidence, has also dropped to a 3-year low. Now remember, in tech alone, over 62,000 employees have been let go in 2025, while the US government layoffs is also surged in similar numbers on account of Dodge, if you remember, that Elon Musk was leading earlier. So what's driving this layoff trend across the globe? A mix of AI and automation, post-pandemic overhiring correction, organizational restructuring, and also intensified focus on profitability. Yet there's a slight sliver of optimism. Now, Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai has said that the company will continue to expand its engineering workforce in 2026. That affirms that human talent remains essential even as AI is taking the center stage.
Moving on, and a big event today in India where 10 o'clock Reserve Bank of India Governor will be detailing the monetary policy outcome. But what to expect from policy? Will there be a rate cut third time? My colleague Anurag Shah is joining from outside Reserve Bank of India. Anurag, over to you.
Second MPC meeting of this fiscal, and there is a broader consensus among economists and market participants about 25 basis point rate cut to be announced today. And if that happens, that it will be a third consecutive rate cut of 25 basis point by RBI. Markets will be looking for growth outlook and the CPI inflation outlook by RBI, because in last policy we have seen that RBI reduced growth outlook for FY26 to 6.5% due to the global growth tension. So market will be looking on that, and there is also consensus among market participants and economists that the stance will be, RBI will be continuing accommodative stance only, because in last policy RBI changed the stance from neutral to accommodative, and going ahead the accommodative stance will continue. There are few participants, small in numbers, are also expecting that RBI or MPC may surprise with a 50 basis point rate cut also, because inflation numbers are giving comfort to RBI. The April CPI inflation number is below the RBI target of 4%. So if that happens, that will be a big bonanza for market, and there will be some announcement. Participants are also expecting related to the liquidity, although a lot of announcement made by RBI in last few months, but market is looking for few more announcements. So these are the main expectations, and we'll be looking for a 10 o'clock announcement by RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra.
All right, then, 25 basis points rate cut is the consensus there, but we could see 75 basis point additional rate cuts in the current cycle. That is the word coming in from HSBC's Pranjal Bhandari. Let's hear out why.
GDP was very high, 7.4%. GVA, which I think better picks up, where activity is, was 6.8. I think that's more believable. But even GVA was a bit higher than it has been in the last couple of quarters, although lower than where it was a year ago. So there's good and bad news. Things have improved from, say, the September quarter or the December quarter, but they are not as great as where they were exactly a year ago. A year ago, we were between 7.5% growth. Now, what created this slight uptick in March? As you said, some of them were like one-off. The fact that government spending had been a little weak, right, through the election period in July last year. And then even in December quarter, it hadn't really picked up. So a lot of the pickup in both central government and state government spending happened in the March quarter. So that helped, raise numbers. And we may not see the same type of increase in the next couple of quarters.
Looking at the domestic growth and inflation trailing data, and also the outlook on the monetary policy side, we do have the view that it will remain decisively on the easing side. We've already seen RBI, take those steps, change of stance to accommodative cut. Two rate cuts have already come through. RBI has added a lot of durable liquidity in the system, and I think that will continue. So with the inflation outlook remaining benign, as I mentioned, you'll see readings closer to say 3.5% in the next few months. And even if you look at 1 year forward inflation forecast, they'll be pretty close to 4%. So RBI will be comfortable that inflation is durably aligning with its medium-term target of 4%.
All right, with this, it's time to take a quick break, but don't go away. News and updates will follow on the other side.
Welcome back to ET Now. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Kanishka, Sarkar and Ankur Mishra. While we're in for that muted start, muted opening for the Indian market, let's get on board Rabinder, who's joining us with all the list of stocks that are expected to be buzzing in trade today.
Velish, Ashoka Buildcon can be in focus, where company has received letter of intent for Motor Vehicle Department Maharashtra for various circle, and the estimated cost of the order is 1387 crore. Apart from this, Praj Industry can be in focus, where company has collaborated with Energia's SA for biorefinery project in Paraguay. Moving to next, Irida can be in focus, where company opens QIP with a floor price of 173.83 per share, and the company may offer a discount of not more than 5% on the floor price. So back of this QIP, Irida can be in focus. Moving to next, Power Grid can be in focus, where company has commissioned a transmission network expansion project in Gujarat. Apart from this, Coal India can be in focus, where Coal India and Indian Port Rail and Roadway Corporation has executed a non-binding MOU at Kolkata with the development of rail infrastructure of Coal India and its subsidiary. And lastly, IT stock Emphasis can be in focus, where Emphasis has launched a Center of Excellence for Financial Services in Argentina, and company has onboarded 50 technology experts and plan to scale up approx 200 by the end of year and potentially grow the number annually thereafter. So back of this, Emphasis can be in focus.
Moving on, the block deal party is still in full swing on Dalal Street, with today Bajaj Finserv being the latest likely addition. Promoters are expected to sell 1.9% stake today, and all eyes will be there on the deal after the big blocks on Tata Tech, Alkem Labs, ABFRL, Ola Electric and Yes Bank. Sharad is joining in with more details. Sharad, over to you.
Well, a slew of block deals happening this week. First, it's likely that Bajaj Finserv, the block deal likely today, almost promoters would be selling 1.9% stake, coming into almost 5,828 odd crore rupees. Now, interestingly, the floor price is at 1,880 rupees per share, indicating a 3.3% discount. The promoters roughly have 61% stake as per the March shareholding pattern in 2025. Now, other key blocks which happened this week: Tata Tech TPG sold 2% stake worth 635 crore rupees, and that was a complete exit. Alkem Labs promoter sold 1.42% stake worth 825 crore rupees, and the promoter holding was roughly 55% in the March quarter. ABFRL, there's a complete exit coming in from Walmart owned Flipkart. They're selling entire 6% stake worth 600 crore rupees. And interestingly, Ola Electric Hyundai took an entire exit sale of almost 2.47% stake, with a deal coming into 550 crore of value. And lastly, Yes Bank, important stake sale by Carlyle, 2.6% stake worth 1775 crore rupees. And last time also in May 2024, they had sold almost a similar amount to almost 2% stake worth 1440 crore rupees. So these are the important block deals happening in Dalal Street this week.
Okay, thank you, Sharath, for getting us all those details about the block deals expected this week. But moving on, health insurer Niva Bupa is revising premiums for its flagship product Reassure 2.0 starting June 10th. Now, the average hike is around 7%. Anurag Shah is joining us with all the details there.
Standalone health insurance company Niva Bupa is going to increase premium for their popular product, that is Reassure 2.0, and this hike is effective from 10th of June, and the quantum of hike is 7% across all age bands and geographies. As per our sources, as per our information, this popular product contributes 18% to overall business of Niva Bupa. So if we talk about FY25, then gross written premium of Niva Bupa was 7,407 crore, and as per our sources, this is a flagship product of a company, and its contribution to the overall premium is around 18%. On a query sent to Niva Bupa, company has responded, and company has confirmed the revision in premium, and the company has responded that the first premium revision since the launch of product from February 2023, premium to rise 7% across all geographies and age band from 10th of June, and premium hike is driven by inflation and customer age bandwidth. So this is the reply to ET Now from Niva Bupa.
Thanks, Anurag, for all those details. Moving on with other important news, Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah announced the immediate suspension of Bengaluru Police Commissioner and top 2 police officials after 11 people died in a deadly stampede outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium. And this happened during the Royal Challengers Bengaluru's IPL victory celebrations. On the FIRs registered suo motu by police officers, named RCB also as accused. India recorded 7 COVID deaths on the second consecutive day on Thursday, with Maharashtra reporting a maximum 3 such deaths in the last 24 hours. Delhi and Karnataka reported 2 COVID deaths each. The total number of COVID deaths in the country has reached 51, with the COVID tally crossing more than 4,800. Kerala stays most affected. With this, it's time for a wrap in this edition of Market Cafe. Thanks for watching.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.